All right, I'm here with a list of my top 10 favorite games of 2021. 2021 was an all right year for games. Nothing amazing, I don't think. I think we got a lot of good to great games, but we didn't get many great to stand out amazing games this year. And there's plenty of reasons of why that could be. A lot of delays, a lot of just problems with development in the last year of a lot of these games due to the pandemic. So I can't blame anyone really, but still some great stuff this year. I can't really complain. So I figured I'd go over my top 10 favorite games of the year. Looking at them, I don't really have them ranked. I just kind of have them alphabetically until I get to my favorite game of the year, and then I will just show that game. Really, my only, my only rule is that no re-releases of older games. So unfortunately, some great games that came out in the past, if they're not originally released this year, here in the West, at least, they're not on the list. So I guess in no Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, I don't want to make it too easy for myself. That's not on the list either because that's a collection of older games. So I will get into it now with the first game I'm going to be talking about. Lost Judgment. I really liked this one a lot. I really liked the first Judgment game. This is, of course, from the Ryu Ga Gotoku Studios over at Sega, who make the Yakuza games. This is like their second series that they have, and it's great as well. Lost Judgment kind of revolves more around, in these games you're a detective, so you kind of do your own thing with that. You have your own detective agency, stuff like that. Really cool. The stories are really great. I think that RGG Studio has done a great job at making themselves like a real strong storytellers in video games, and I don't know if that was always the case. I mean, the Yakuza games always had like good stories, but I really think with Judgment, Yakuza Like a Dragon, and Lost Judgment, they've really upped the ante. They've really shown that they can be up amongst like some of the best, and I really like this game's story. I think it's really interesting. Definitely somewhere you don't really see too much talking about with games, and there's a whole like school life mode as well. And I don't want to talk spoilers too much, but there's all that. The side content is a lot of the side content is very unique to this specific game, so you're not really getting too many repeats from older games. And the stuff that is repeated from older games has kind of been changed. And yeah, I really like it. I think the villain's really cool. I think the plot is really interesting. Graphically, it's really impressive. The Dragon Engine, really impressive. You get the two locations from Like a Dragon. You get Yokohama and you get Kabukicho, Kamurocho as they call it in the game. And really impressed with this one. I'm really excited for what RGG's been doing. I think even now that Nagoshi has left, even though he's gone now, I don't think it was his hands on with like a Dragon and stuff like that anyway. But I mean, Like a Dragon has that great turn based combat, that great that great style of gameplay, and then we have Lost Judgment still continuing on the more brawler style of gameplay. And there's a lot of places that they can go with both of them. And if you like the Yakuza games and haven't played the Judgment games, then you got to play them. They're both on PS5. They're both on Xbox consoles. They're all PS4, Xbox One. Not on PC, I don't think, because of the whole likeness of the main actor. But what can you do? So yeah, first one there, Lost Judgment. Next on the list, Mario Party Superstars. I'm not crazy about ND Cube. ND Cube is Nintendo's like in-house party game developer, and I'm gonna be honest, I think that their work isn't great. I like the Wii Party games, Wii Party and Wii Party U. I think those are pretty good for party games, but their Mario Party output has been bad to mediocre, or mediocre to bad. It really should be, but Mario Party 9 not good, Mario Party 10 not good. A lot of those handheld Mario Party games are fine, but not exactly what we're looking for. Super Mario Party is probably their best attempt, and that game is okay baseline, and then just kind of has so many little things in it that they just mess up. But this game is finally it. It has online multiplayer out of the box. I know they added it to Super Mario Party later, but it has it out of the box. It works well. It saves after return, so if you get disconnected or something, you're not losing anything important. The mini game selection is good. The board selection, I think, is good. It should be updated, and I hope they update it, although it's been a while since this came out, and there's been no update, so I'm a little concerned about that. But other than that, I mean, I really think that they finally got it. And what does it say about ND Cube that, their best game is just kind of a remastering, retouching of Hudson Soft's 20-year-old Mario Party games. I'm not sure what that says, but at least they got it. It's good. Like Todd Howard says, it just works. It's good. It's fun. It's what I want out of Mario Party. Moving on, probably the biggest surprise of the year, I will say, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I was really surprised with this one. This has been rumored like since probably 2017 that Eidos Montreal has been working on this. It's been forever that we've been hearing about there's some kind of Square Enix Guardians of the Galaxy game. And they unfortunately had to follow up the Marvel Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics, which was just poorly conceived. Could have been good, but they didn't. They had to go out and kind of make it like a Destiny clone, games as a service game, and that's not what people wanted. They just wanted a high quality, single player Marvel game, and that's exactly what this is. And I recommend it a lot. I don't even really think you need to like Guardians of the Galaxy or Marvel that much. I just think if you like space storytelling and it's funny, it's surprisingly well written. Actually, it's really enjoyable, and they do something great here where it's like you got these characters and they talk a lot. They talk a lot, and it never gets annoying. You're never really hearing the same thing said over and over again. It's just really well done, and I'm really impressed with it. And I'm going to be honest, I know Eidos Montreal is pretty good. I've never gotten the Deus Ex games, but I know people like them. But I didn't know they had a game like them in this. This is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. The environmental design is really cool, and they really were able to take these crazy worlds and kind of make this fascinating environmental design. It's a really good game. Gameplay it's fun. A bit simple, but it is fun. But I think it really shines in the kind of exploration of these cool environments. It shines in the set pieces, and it shines definitely in a lot of the writing and character stuff, which is really cool. And highly recommend this one. You can get this one already for pretty cheap. And I hope this one sells well just because it shows, Avengers didn't fail because we didn't want a single player game. Or Avengers failed because we wanted a single player game, I should say. Not because we don't want Marvel games, it's because we don't want this. This is what we want. Spider-Man's what we want. Maybe Midnight Suns, if that's good. That's what we want. Wolverine. We don't want, whatever this... Just, it feels like two different games, and it just doesn't... Avengers didn't work, but this one does, and it's great. And I wouldn't pass this one up just because of Avengers, because it is great. Metroid Dread, this is the steelbook here. I've never really been able to get into 2D Metroid before. I've just never, I don't know, Metroidvanias aren't really my thing. I kind of just get annoyed with them a lot of the times. A lot of the times it's just because I have a hard time differentiating, there we go. What I've already seen, what I've yet to be at. But this game, it's not too linear. It's linear enough to make you feel... it's open enough to make you feel like it's not linear while also being pretty linear. I'll say that much. And I think it's just really well done. The controls are great. It just feels good to play. It's challenging enough without being annoying. The only really annoying part, I think, are the robots, which aren't that bad. But I just feel like with those, it just seems like they send you right outside the door that you are at. So it just doesn't feel even worth my time to have these in the game, because it's oh, they got me right back out the room. Let's try it again. Okay, I got around it. It just doesn't feel like that much of a threat. Although I feel like the game would have been probably way worse if it was more punishing with those things. But good game. Mercury Steam did a good job with this one. And I'd be interested to see how Nintendo keeps them on in the future. I know they have a deal with, I think, 505 Games for publishing their next game. So I think that they're kind of said, or, what their plans are kind of set in stone for a little while. But I would be interested to see what they could do with more Metroid like this, and what they could maybe do with 3D Metroid. Maybe they take over the Prime series or something, and Retro does something else. Who knows? But cool game. Like it a lot. So a game I like, but probably the most missed potential in any game this year. No More Heroes 3. Grasshopper's a really interesting studio, obviously Suda51, Koichi Suda, and really interesting studio. And this is, the first two No More Hero games, especially the first one, I think are great games. Just really fun, just really enjoyable. They're exactly what they need to be. And, for Wii games, they looked pretty nice because they were stylized. This game looks like doo-doo because it's not stylized and it looks like poopy Unreal Engine garbage. I don't know what they were doing with the graphics in this game, but it looks horrible. So that's unfortunate. No More Heroes 2 got rid of the open world of No More Heroes 1 because a lot of people said there wasn't anything to do in it. And the open world is back in this game. There's like 4 open worlds now, and they all suck. And there's even less to do in it than there was in the 2008 Wii game. I really wish that they could have, went in and just said, hey, we are going to tighten this experience up. We're going to do the No More Heroes 2 thing where we just have these kind of more stage-based, level-based, horde fighting, and not so much of the open world stuff, place to place. It just feels like time killing. In the first No More Heroes game, you can beat in about 8 hours. The second one you can beat in about 5 hours. In this game, I beat around 11 or 12, and it feels like it really should have been like 8 and just been stage-based. But I don't want to make it seem like I didn't like this game, because I really did. It's really funny. It's just the gameplay is really good. Like, the combat is solid. It's the best combat that the series has had, and it feels great. It's so fun. And it's just crazy. It goes insane. I don't want to spoil anything because there's some really great surprises in there. Some of the boss fights are really clever and really funny, but it's definitely a product of I think COVID hit this game really badly. I think there was supposed to be more with the open worlds because I should mention the combat all runs like perfectly, 60 frames per second, runs really smooth, really nice. You get into the open worlds and it's like 30, but mostly 20. I feel like they polished up the combat and stuff first, and then COVID hit or something, and then it was like, oh, I guess we got to work on this open world from home or something, and it just didn't pan out, but they're like, we got to get this done. I also know that this game had a pretty low budget compared to other Grasshopper games. This is, I believe, self-published. Maybe Marvelous had something to do with it. I think Marvelous owns like the IP, but I think this was self-published. If I'm not right. If I'm not wrong. But, I mean, in the past, Grasshopper had worked with, like, EA and Katakawa and, different Warner Brothers. So they had more budget. And Grasshopper was bought by NetEase recently, so I'm not a big fan of that company in particular buying them, but hopefully in the future they'll be able to work with more of a budget on their titles. But for now, we're going to have to put up with whatever this was. But I had fun with it. I'd recommend it if you know what you're getting into. That's all I'll say about it. Persona 5 Strikers, another really surprising game. I went into this one I didn't really know much about this one. I'm a big, obviously, Persona 5 and Persona series fan in general. And I think it was a really great surprise because I didn't really watch too much of this game before it came out. And I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be like Persona, Dynasty Warriors. Because it's a Musou. It's developed by... what's their name? Omega Force from Koei Tecmo. And I was like, okay, it's going to be Musou, not going to be anything too special. Maybe it has like a kind of generic story. But this is like definitely a full-on Persona 5 sequel. Not a sequel to Royal, which is going to be weird moving forward, but definitely a cool sequel. And the gameplay is less like a Musou. There is still like that crowd control element of a Musou in this game, but the gameplay is actually more like... not as quite as polished, not as quite as fluid Final Fantasy VII Remake. It feels like they made a sequel to Persona 5 that is an action RPG, and it's great. It really is. The story's good for the most part. I think it starts to fall apart at the end, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it kind of treads some familiar territory. But I think there's a lot of cool character moments. There's a lot of cool... It's a great expansion of the Persona 5 original game. Doesn't feel unnecessary. It feels really earned. It feels really good. I just really liked it. It's really well done, really well made, and you never know that, Omega Force made it and not Persona Team. All around, really happy with how this one turned out. Would really recommend this one. I think it was just free on PlayStation Plus. It might still be if you catch this on January when it comes out, the last weekend of January, but give this one a shot. This will come out before the end of January, so give this one a shot if you see this before then. It's free on PS Plus, PS4 version. It's on Switch as well, but wouldn't recommend that one if you have another option, because that version's only 30 frames per second. This one is 60. Moving along here. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I like this game a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really think Insomniac is at the top of the food chain when it comes to Western developers currently. They are able to do a lot. I mean, they have, it seems like they have like 4 teams. They do VR, they do Spider-Man, they did Sunset Overdrive, which was great. They can do something like this, and they can do something like Wolverine. They can do Resistance, and they can do, Ratchet and Clank. And I just don't feel like you see that with a lot of other development teams, especially not to the quality that we're getting here. But they all distinctly feel like Insomniac games. They all have that kind of gadget focus. They all have that kind of, really, just really polished, really well done. This game was a little less polished, I think, because of COVID and everything, but really fun time. It has a lot of great set pieces. I know a lot of people were like, oh, the story wasn't very good, but I don't really care about the story in like a cartoon platformer, I'm going to be honest. But there's a lot of fun set pieces, a lot of fun moments. I just really liked this one. And it really looks nice, too. You get this thing in like the fidelity mode, and it looks like actually like an animated film. It doesn't even look like a game. And even in the the resolution mode and everything, it still looks superb. One of the best looking games so far. And I would say that this is probably the first killer app for PlayStation 5 that you can only get on PlayStation 5. I think that this is the best PlayStation 5 exclusive currently, and I think that it is just a great experience, and I would definitely recommend it. $70, maybe a little high, but I had fun with it. I had got my money's worth out of it, and excited what they do with it in the future. I would be surprised if they didn't do like another Miles Morales type like half game with that one. Scarlet Nexus. This is a new IP out of Bandai Namco. It is an action RPG, and it has some of the coolest combat I've ever seen in a game. That's why I put it on this list, because I think this game's combat is just really cool. It has like this... it's hard to describe. It kind of plays like Nier on the field a little bit, but you have like these cool ways of like having a party, loading out like a party and using their powers while also using your kind of hack and slash action and your powers, and you have telekinesis as well. And so you can kind of throw things around. Is a really cool use of like the haptic feedback in the controller. By when you have some, enough of the energy to whatever throw stuff around, it kind of gives you a little bit of pushback, and you can kind of feel it like being thrown around. But when you don't, it just goes limp and it goes right in. It's really cool, and I really like this game. I think the story was like nonsense. I'm gonna be honest. Towards the end of the game, and I didn't completely finish this one. This is one I got to go back to. I think I was in like the second to last chapter or something. Towards the end of the story, I was kind of checking my phone during the cutscenes because I just felt like it was nonsense. But some of the characters are cool. There's like some social aspects of it. I think the concept of the game is really cool, and I think like the world that the game is set in is really cool. But I just thought the story was like, man, this is not where I would have wanted this to go. And I thought it was going to go somewhere interesting, and it just didn't. And it kind of, to me, came across as like generic anime, which is fine. I'm not looking. If a story in a game is good, in a game like this at least, is good, that's a bonus. I'm really looking for that combat, that minute-to-minute gameplay, and this game definitely delivers, and would definitely recommend it. You could play this one on PS4 as well, and on Xbox One. This PS5 version, unless it's been patched since like June, it looks good, it plays fine, but it's not optimized for PS5. Like, the loading times are longer than they really should be. It takes forever to save, which is really weird. So something to keep in mind with that. But would recommend this one. You can get this one again for maybe $25 at this point, and it is really cool. It feels like they kind of out platinum games in some way, which is interesting to see Namco Bandai of all people do, or Bandai Namco. I know I said no no re-releases, but I'm going to specifically talk about Bowser's Fury here. I played through the entire Super Mario 3D World. I played it actually all through an online co-op too, which worked most of the time. We got through Champions Road though, so obviously it worked well enough to get through that. But Bowser's Fury I thought was really fun. It was like this really cool little... It felt like an extended demo almost. It's about 3 hours to finish and about 6 hours to 100%. And it's like... I wish it had the Mario Odyssey movement rather than the 3D World movement, but The level design and how things were set up was really cool, and I feel like it could be a really cool way for like a Mario Odyssey 2 or the next 3D Mario game to come out and have this really open design that's still segmented into little islands, little areas. But yeah, really liked this one. It looks really nice. It has the Bowser gimmick is pretty interesting actually, and of course music top notch, really great. Would recommend this one, of course, as well, especially if you haven't played Mario 3D World, because that's a great game. It is a little bit harder of a sell if you've already played Mario 3D World, don't want to play it again, or just would rather play it on Wii U still. There's some quality of life in Mario 3D World on Switch that is pretty good, but I mean, I understand why someone wouldn't want to drop the money to get this, and just for the 6 hours at most Bowser's Fury. But highly recommended though, great time. And finally, we're getting to Game of the Year. There's probably a game that you have noticed was not on this list. A game that I've mentioned I liked many times on the channel, if you've been paying attention. The Game of the Year, I think, for this year for me, and shouldn't be too much of a surprise, is Resident Evil Village. Modern Resident Evil is just killing it. It's great. And I've always liked Resident Evil. Resident Evil 4 is a classic. The old games are great. But I never really called myself like a super fan or anything. But I don't know, with Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 2 remake, and to a lesser extent 3 remake, although I thought that game was very good. And this, I'm like, man, this is like this is getting higher and higher up my list of like favorite series now. This game is great, and I think I still like Resident Evil 7 more than this one, although I still really like this game. I just think 7 is I don't know, that 7 is just awesome. That is just such a good game. It's so well designed. It is genuinely very scary game. And I don't think this game's very scary. There are a few moments in this game that are like really, really great as far as scary goes. Like you're really feeling it. You're really like, man, this is so well done. And you guys who played this game know exactly what I'm talking about. But for the most part, I just think that this is just a really well made first-person, action horror game, and it's definitely not as survival horror as the 7, but it's like a cool compromise. It's almost like if Resident Evil 7 was like a Force Awakens to Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 8 is like a Force Awakens to Resident Evil 4. And I know that you got to understand kind of the comparison with Resident Evil, with Force Awakens being kind of like a retreading but a new type thing. Maybe it doesn't make much sense to anyone but me, but I really do think that what they're doing here is awesome, and Resident Evil's in a cool place where they can keep remaking the older games in that over-the-shoulder style. They can keep doing the mainline, at least for the end of this trilogy, and in first person, and then if they want to go back to the action, they can go back to Revelations, which it seems like they're going to do. It seems like that's leaked, and that's going to happen. So they're in a really cool place with that, and I don't know. This game, I feel like, could have been a little bit better paced. There's 4 different like lords, I guess, of different domains of the areas that you go to. Obviously, Big Lady is the first one in the castle, which is by far the best part of the game. That castle segment of the game is 10 out of 10 Resident Evil. It's like awesome. And then there is a house, which is like the scary, more Silent Hill type house. And that part is also great. And then I think it gets less good from there. There's like a fish guy. Don't really care too much about him. There was the guy who talks like Obama. Didn't really care much about him. But it's still great parts of the game. I just think that it peaks early. And then it's in a downward trajectory. And something I didn't mention about an earlier game, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, is that this is a game I think that only gets better as it goes on and ends on a high note. And I unfortunately think Resident Evil 8, I feel like only gets worse. And I feel like if you would have switched the house and maybe the fish guy, it would have been like, yeah. And I still want to, I would say there's nothing worse than an 8 out of 10 in this game. This game's still great. But I do think that the best parts of the game are early on in the game. And I'll leave it at that. But awesome game. Highly recommended. Probably would say that 7's better than 8, but 8 is still superb. And that's it for my top 10 games of 2021. Let me know what your favorite game of the year was, or some of your favorite games of the year were. I know it's a little bit of an off year, but hopefully 2022 is going to be good. I'd like to make a video of my most anticipated of 2022 soon, but gotta wait to see if there's going to be like a Nintendo Direct or anything like that. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Always helps out the channel. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Follow me on Twitter at ObjoGaming. And until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching.